Daniela said, would you rather have a small 2-bed paid off in 10 years or a slightly bigger property, more maintenance, etc., pay off in 20 years, no family help incoming in the future? They'll be 48 and 55 in 10 years. 70% of the group said 2-bedroom townhouse paid off in 10 years or a 3-bedroom house paid off in 20 years, 30%. So it was 70-30 down the line. What are you guys doing?
Jeez, what are you doing, Rach?
I actually am on this. I clicked on this.
Did you click on it?
I did.
Oh,
You can see my response on the Facebook group.
Yeah, right. Okay, and you went?
I was probably one of the minority that said 3-bed house.
Yeah, okay, you went to 30.
what would you go, Johnny?
Oh, look, I it's all about buying a property for me is wealth creation / lifestyle. So 3-bed I need a backyard, I need space, and I want wealth. So I'm going to 30 as well.
Yeah, I'm probably this is and I don't know if it's a real thing or a hypothetical, but this is one of the things where we have to split up financial decisions from lifestyle decisions. And a 2-bedroom townhouse, and I guess, they obviously don't need 3-bedder, but if you had 3 kids or 2 kids, paid off 2 bedrooms not on the table. Because it's like, you might want to share bedrooms for the kids, but at some point you're going to have to move. So I think I just thought it was a bit an interesting discussion point. But I think if I was in the situation where I didn't need the bigger house, because obviously they don't, I'm probably still trying to do the 3-bed house, but I reckon you'll be able to pay it off. I don't think it's going to be linear 10 years versus 20.
Yeah.
And these are all hypotheticals.
Yeah, and it depends what you prioritise in life, isn't it? Is it, okay, I can get it done in 10 and enjoy the next 30 or 40, but not have the wealth in that period? I don't know, because, there's no one size fits all. But
No. There'd be a lot of variables to that too.
But most people like the idea of paid off in 10 years.
Sounds like it, doesn't it? It's interesting. And the 2-bed townhouse, whilst it's smaller, it still could have ongoing issues.
Yeah, what if they need a
friggin'
special levy of 10 grand per person?
Yeah. And what if the structures weren't... Yeah.
A lot of what ifs, but I just thought it was interesting. Most people says 70% 3-bedroom townhouse paid off in 10 years. But I'm probably going to stretch myself. Actually, it was interesting. When I bought my first home, and this is kind of true when we do stuff for the first time, it can be scary and intimidating. And if we're trying something for the first time, we might not make a bold move. And everyone who's ever bought their first home before, it was really scary getting that mortgage and, committing to that monthly mortgage. But 6 months in, it was just normal. Like, it was fine. And my old man's quite conservative in terms of, financially, fiscally, I guess, in terms of doesn't spend lots of money. Well, he bought a new gun the other day. He does clay targets and he does all that stuff.
Wasn't for self-defense.
No. And he's got like $7,000 Beretta, like under-over shotgun, 12 gauges. Yeah, he's really into it. But anyway, he said to me when I first bought my house, my first home, at the time I was really scared because I had to kind of stretch myself and the interest rates were cheap at the time. Him coming from an environment that was like 17% interest rates back in the day, he said to me, because I remember the rate was 5% when I got my first loan, he's like, borrow as much as you can for that cheap money and just stretch yourself. And the house that I bought, when I did the walkthrough in open, I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing here. It's too expensive. It's nice. Anyway, ended up getting that one. And I'm glad I did stretch and push myself. So I think just some encouragement. If you are doing something the first time, it might be your first home, and you do have the means to stretch yourself a little bit, I think a little bit of financial stress in the right department could be good. And we can unpack that more because I think we need to assume that we'll make a scenario up. You rate, your team sees someone, they're like, yep, you can borrow 900 and it'd service no problem. You're looking at 830 homes and you're like, oh, we don't want to go too much and it's scary. I think there is that tension of a healthy stretch if the Mercury and Venus align. I'm not talking about overextending so you can't afford it, but a healthy stretch for an asset that's going up in value, you might end up spending less on shat you don't need in your life. And I don't know, what do you guys think about the healthy stretch?
I start again. I did
having a stroke.
I did an interview with a guy who'd been in residential commercial real estate for 100 years, right?
Awesome. Good story. All right, next question.
And he was talking about the principal place of residence. Do you want to cut back in?
No, we're going. We don't edit anymore, Johnny. We're doing entertainment.
Glenn's been a knob over here.
Rach has lost it.
You're right,
Keep
Rach.
going. Keep going.
Your principal place of residence is something that you're going to stretch to for most people anyway, because it's your dream home that you live in and you're going to stretch for the next 20 years, and that's why we see inflated prices a lot of the time. So, yeah, I agree, but you've got to make sure that you've got your buffers in place because everyone's incomes are different too. Like Rach runs a business, she wants a pay rise, she goes and gets more clients, right? Teachers, nurses potentially can't go and do that. So there's no one size fits all. But yeah, and we'll talk to that after the break, I think, with a question regards building a portfolio and stretching to that as well.
Yeah. And
mindset.
I think that's the dance, isn't it? Because on one hand, you don't want this, and I'd seen it when I was practicing on the front lines with clients. I'd spend 2-3 years with them to get out of debt, out of consumer debt, got savings. Then they bought too much house, and then we furnish it and go back into 20 grand consumer debt to get the lounges and all the new furniture. And to me, that's like, well, that amazing kind of blessing of being able to buy a new home and live in it. You're now living week on week stressed out financially again. So I think it's a dance with, I think my comment was when you're doing something the first time, it's scary, but just lean into it just a fraction more.
Yeah.
I think, don't know what you're going to say, but the conversations that I'm been having lately with a lot of people are, I'm spending less because I don't need more, as in I'm only going to buy a 2-bed because I don't need that 3-bed or that house, which is purely a convenience thing, got more time to go and spend with others, whatever it might be, without looking at what's going to make the most money. And this is clearly on this 70%. They're looking at, I'm not worried about too much how much money it's going to make. It's more about my lifestyle.
Yeah. And that's it. And like if they only had one child, they might be fine with a 2-bedroom townhouse. If they got no children, it might be fine. But yeah, I think it just goes back to your values and your goals. Like, what do you want to achieve?
Yeah, and I would always recommend that people have a figure they're really comfortable paying back a week. So many people talk about what they want to borrow, and they've got that figure from the houses in their local area. So, houses are $1 million, so I want to borrow $1 million. And when they actually see, and then you say, well, how much are you comfortable paying back a week? That figure's not in the ballpark.
Yeah.
So, what you can borrow and what you're comfortable paying back a week sometimes are vastly different. But I would also encourage people for that first home to stretch. If it's going to get them a better property, but they need to understand what that repayment looks like, look at their budget. What are you going to give up to be able to facilitate that?
But I think we're in a lending environment now where rates should be pretty stable. Like, who knows? Like, if anything, if the world falls over next week when old mate tweets something, the Fanta Fura, when he tweets something and everything ends, well, if the economy goes down the drain, if anything, rates will come down to stimulate. But if you don't have your job, it's probably ooh. But yeah, it goes back to the buffers, right?
What if interest rates went 1% increase in the next 12 months? How many Australians would be on their knees? And I think that's, to your point, the government is saying, well, we can't let that happen. Like only last week, Cotality come out and said there's $12 trillion worth of residential real estate in Australia that's $3 trillion more than combined commercial property, super and shares. Like that's how much of a beast this thing is. They're not going to let it fail.
Yeah. Hey, it's Glenn here. Thank you so much for watching today's video. You made it to the end. Can I ask a favor? Can you hit that like button and maybe hit subscribe if you want to get notified when we release further videos just like this one, whether you watch the Money, Money, Money podcast or Retire Right. And remember, if you want to learn more about investing, I've got an investing book, The Quick Start Guide to Investing, and there's a link in the description to get your hands on a copy. Thank you so much. Bye.